She's good at hugs and kisses. Um, telling us what to do.
She's really good at teaching after school and good at teaching when she serves down in City Kids.
Cooking.
Washing the dishes. Washing the dishes. Teaching me art.
I think making people happy, she always says that.
Really good. Oh, I know. Cooking stuff like dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Cooking. Something that my mom does really good is cooking for the family. Running this house.
I like Mom. I like it when you cook cookies.
I like it when you cook popcorn.
Teaching kids and taking care of.
Stitching.
Mother's Day looks a lot different this year.
Mommy needs a quarantine.
And our moms may be spending a lot of time with their kids right now. A lot. Like, so much time. And even though they love their kids to the moon and back,
Mommy, where are you going?
sometimes moms need a little alone time.
Mommy!
You know, to recharge.
Go talk to Daddy.
Mommy! Where are you? Are you in there? Mommy! We can see you! Up and up!
I just wanna lie in the sun. Whoa, lie in the sun.
But no matter what's happening in the world, their favorite way to spend time is with their family.
But now my only win is now, and my only wear is when I'm by your side.
In good times, in hard times,
Mom! You're breaking everything!
in uncertain times. Thank you, Mom, for making time for us every single day.
Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for today. I ask that you would watch over us as we go to bed and rest, that you would speak to us in Bible stories and speak to us in
Well, good morning. Happy Mother's Day to every mother, every grandmother, every mother figure out there. Come on, let us rejoice in the Lord today. Come on, hey. Love is everlasting, say.
Love is everlasting, it's an everlasting love.
Your mercy.
Mercy is as new as every rising of the sun. And your loving kindness better than life.
Your grace is all sufficient.
Your grace is all sufficient, it's an all sufficient grace.
favorite thing to do is to read books.
Probably hang out with the family. Hiking. Sleep. And then my mom's favorite thing to do, I don't know. Watch movies and shows. Sit in the hammock.
Reading and quiet.
Watch church. To make stuff. She always makes stuff in the house. She always decorates. Art, doing art. And then jump with us. Mostly craft or camp. Like growing up to be by herself.
Tabby, what is Mom's favorite thing to do? Spend time with the family.
First say, be good and listen. Do your homework. Turn to math class. No. Stop. Clean up our room. Clean up our room. Richardson's don't give up. Do your hair. In just a minute. Clean my room. I love you, Betty.
That she loves me.
I love you. I love you.
I love you.
I love you. Mucho.
You are here, you're moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Oh, we believe, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, we believe, way make, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Come on, y'all. You are here, touching every heart, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Oh, you are here, you are here, healing, healing every heart. I worship you, oh, I worship you. Oh, you are here, turning lives around, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Come on. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. I know, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. I believe, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Light in the darkness, my God, that is who you
Tabitha, what is one thing that makes mom really happy? Giving me snuggles.
What makes my mother happy is when we are not arguing and we get along very well.
When I get good grades and when I do chores without being asked.
Giving her hugs and kisses. Me with me. We can go and watch movies. Give her some flowers. Our love. I'm dancing. And read books. And Riley smiling. Making her a pot.
Making her a pot.
Yeah, like cooking pot, right? No, like a popcorn pot. Us being home with her. Work. Going outside.
When it's quiet.
When we do what she says.
Having a clean house.
When we do our best.
A clean house.
When I give her kisses. Cats. That we can all go on vacation with her. I wish she'd be our friend forever.
What about you, Connor?
The same thing. I wish her to be a queen. I wish that she would be the greatest fighter out in battle her, and I would shut boom.
That someone takes care of her instead of her taking care of them.
I wish my mom should stop working all the time and play with me. To spend time with her friends and make sure she would have a great time with them. I wish that we all have a good time together. To not have depression.
To have a good time on Mother's Day.
I wish I could help my mom clean the whole house and help her cook. Have a good camping trip.
My wish for my mom is she doesn't have a lot of stress when she does things that are stressful. I hope you have a happy Mother's Day. We love you, Mom. We love you, Mom.
My mom is amazing, and I love her, and I love spending time with her because she is amazing. And this is Disneyland. Happy Mother's Day.
I want to wish all the moms at Tri-Cities Church a happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day!
What a moment. You have brought me to such a freedom. I have found in you, you're the healer who makes all things new. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not going back, I'm moving ahead. I'm here to declare to you, my past is over you. All things are made new. Surrender my life to Christ. I'm moving forward. Whoa. You have risen with all power in your hands. You have given me a second chance. Hallelujah, hallelujah, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, I'm not going back, I'm moving ahead, I'm here to declare to you, my past is over you, all things are made new, surrender my life
Tri-Cities Church. And happy Mother's Day to all our moms, grandmoms, spiritual mothers, just women in general. We celebrate you. So today we thought we would do something just a little bit different because for the last several weeks we've been coming into your home. And so we thought, hey, it would be cool on Mother's Day to invite you into our home. So welcome to our home as we share with you. And maybe at the end of this, we'll give you maybe a few shots of what goes on around our home during this quarantine. So let's start here. Everyone knows my wife. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
So I thought maybe we start here, do something a little bit different this morning. So our oldest son, Malachi, most of y'all know Malachi, he'll be 15, which means you would have been a mom now almost 15 years.
Yes, wow.
So do you have any funny stories about one of the kids or all the kids when they were younger, about anything that they did that was funny that just sort of sticks out on this Mother's Day?
Well, you know, as a mom, with every child, your memories get less. It's kind of like that commercial where you see the first child, you do everything for that child, and then Miles, which is our last born, Miles gets like nothing. He just learns how to do everything by himself and is totally independent. But one of the funny stories that I want to share about Malachi is when Malachi was a baby, he used to go to a daycare because I used to go to work and Hamar was in school. And so every day when I picked him up from daycare, I would start these habits that I had no idea how they were going to end. So one of the habits that I started is one really not good because they were like, how am I going to put an end to this? There was a Wendy's around the corner from the daycare where Malachi went. So between our house and the daycare was about a 15, 20-minute drive. So I was like, oh, he's hungry. They ate in daycare, whatever they ate. I was like, it's just daycare food. Let me give him something to eat. Let me get him something to eat. So I would drive from work, pick up Malachi, stop at the Wendy's, and I always got him chicken nuggets. This was every day. He got chicken nuggets on the way home. So this was like his snack before he got home. So one day, I don't even remember how old he was because Malachi started daycare when he was like 3-4 months? Yeah, he was a baby. So I'm driving through the drive-thru at Wendy's. And I say, I put the order in like I usually do. Every now and again, I would get fries. And on this particular day, I said, yes, can I get 2 orders of chicken nuggets, please? And all of a sudden, I heard in the back this voice, and fries. And I was like, wait, what? Somebody else talks in this car? So it was just totally, it threw me off because I knew he could talk, but I didn't know, you don't know how much kids pay attention to everything that you do, but it was just really funny that it was a moment that I'll never forget, that here I wasn't ordering and then I had a little person that could actually talk back to me, and now I can't get him to stop talking back to me.
I know with the other two, there are funny stories too. Like I know one, and maybe not a story so much as just something that I used to do, and I know it really used to trip your mom out how Chiefy, when he was younger, would just chew up the food and get all the flavor out of it and then just spit it out. And it didn't matter if we were at home or fancy restaurant, it didn't matter. And then Miles just had this habit where you would give him his bottle, and when he was done drinking it, he would just throw it at you, just chuck it. And so at any given time, you could be driving on the freeway, wherever. You just get hit in the back of your head. Yeah, when Miles was young, he would just throw the bottle and it hit you in the back of the head, and you had to make sure that you stayed focused and didn't get in an accident because you knew it was coming. But one of my funniest moments was, when we had Malachi, and maybe some people don't know this, but Malachi, we had to induce. You had to be induced because there were some challenges towards the end of pregnancy. And I remember, I don't know if you probably remember this. I remember like they said at a certain point that it seemed like he wasn't growing anymore. And so by that time, I think we were going to the doctor like twice a week.
Yeah, we went twice a week. And I was on like bed rest.
Bed rest.
I had to go in twice a week.
Yeah.
And still a specialist every week.
Every week. And so, you know, they would give you the test to make sure that he was getting the nutrition. And so
yeah,
they would give you...
And to check his growth, just to see how he was doing. And every time I went in for that test, they put monitors on my stomach, and they wanted to monitor his heart rate and just make sure that everything was okay. And a lot of times, I think when I would go in for the appointment, it was usually after lunch, and they would try to make it after lunch so that I would have eaten and there would be some noticeable activity so that they could tell that something was happening. And so I think we had done a lot of these appointments, and of course Lamar was having to take off work. I was working, but I was working from home, but on bed rest. So for one of these appointments, I remember going in, and the thing about it is the doctor's office didn't care how long the appointment was, because for them, they were, and I love my doctor's office, they were all about, we want to take care of mom and baby and make sure that we have a healthy baby. So if there was no movement, they'd be like, okay, you just sit here until we have some movement.
And they would give you like juice and crackers and sweet things to like see if the baby, if not, I would react at all. So on one appointment, because there were like several appointments, and it was like, he's not reacting to the sugar, he's not reacting. And so one appointment, I'm not proud of this, but it happened. We were going to an appointment, and I pulled into a Quick Trip and ran inside and got the biggest, it was like 48 ounce or something, the biggest fountain drink, and I filled it up with Coke and like every...
I wasn't drinking Coke, was I? I never drank Coke, but anyways.
Well, I filled it up with Coke or whatever soda, and every like
drinking caffeine.
Every syrup. You weren't drinking caffeine, but my point was, I came back to the car. I said, drink this, because by the time we get there, if that doesn't make it move, then we know something's not right. Because it was so much caffeine and so much sugar. But you know, it still turned out that, you know, there were some challenges, and so the doctor told us that we were going to have to try to get you to 38 weeks,
right?
So that they can induce labor. And I share that, and then I want you to answer this, because it was one of those moments of like crisis for us, and what it exposed was what was going on the inside, that there was apparently no growth happening.
Right.
And so thankfully everything is okay, and you all have seen our children. They eat very well. So
very well. Stacy knows.
We don't have a problem with them eating now. But I think that's a good thing to kind of reflect on, because as we're in this pandemic, and for the first time in a long time, Easter was not the same, Mother's Day is not the same. So you have to reflect on that and understand that there's some similarities there, to where maybe this is a time where we can, you know, just do an internal check to see what's going on the inside, and see where some growth might be needed, or where we kind of sense personally where we can grow. So just like as a mom, and you know, I know there are some women who are not moms, just women in general, what would you say this time during the last several weeks has done to help you reflect on maybe some things that you would like to, some areas maybe you would like to grow in any arena, spiritually, emotionally, mentally? What would you?
I think in these past couple of weeks being quarantined, I have been challenged to grow spiritually, spending more time with God, which has been important, because a lot of times in our culture and in our environment, we're on the go. We live in this microwave society where things are happening very fast paced. You don't have time. You're listening to the podcast or the message in your car. So I think it's really allowed me to take time to just sit down and actually really spend time doing the devotional that I want to do, or sit on the porch and enjoy a cup of coffee early in the morning while I'm reading and meditating and actually thinking about taking everything in with everything that's going on. It's also allowed me to touch certain areas that I would not have had a pulse on a regular basis. So I know for a lot of us with children, moms, you're always on the go, fixing meals, doing all this stuff. So now we actually have, one of the things that I was telling Lamar is that we have dinner at our table regularly now. Prior to COVID-19 and quarantine, we used to just have Sunday dinner at the table on Sunday. And the boys usually sit over on this counter. This is where they eat all the time. So now we sit at the table, we eat a lot more, we have conversations, deep conversations. With the boys, they can only be so deep because it's okay, I'm good. So we can find out about their day, school. But in general, I think it's just really challenged me to see areas in my life that were probably not growing like I wanted them to grow, and has caused me to take a deep dive into, okay, what are those areas? And even having to have some self-reflection, looking in the mirror and saying, okay, yeah, this area right here, I thought I was thriving. Maybe not so much. So maybe I need to do a little bit more in that area. So I think it's just been a lot of reflecting, because you do have time, you have nowhere to go, let's face it, other than the grocery store to get essentials. So you have more time than you actually think you have. And I think it's a good time and an important time to just really slow down the pace, be still, and just really try to see or learn something from this whole experience that we're all having.
So what would you say if there was a story maybe, or a verse of scripture in the Bible that sort of helps you to think about that, reflect on that, and maybe even look to that story to help you in this process that we're all sort of going through to grow, but especially, as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, for all our great moms out there, what's the story that helps you maybe in the Bible to sort of look inside and say, these are some areas where I would like to grow during this time?
Okay, you put me on the spot here. So the one, I think I really like the scripture in Psalm 40, I think it's 46:10 or 47:10, that talks about be still. And that is really helping me center a lot of what I'm doing. So a lot of times when I'm thinking, I gotta go, I gotta get a schedule going, I gotta get the kids to do their work, I gotta download all the work, print everything, I have to remind myself that you don't have to do all these things right now. You have all day, you're all not going anywhere, nobody's going to school. So just really pacing myself and being still in the moment. And sometimes when things don't go according to how I want, knowing that I'm not in control and that God is ultimately in control, so I can actually take a moment to be still. The other story that I am reminded of a lot is sometimes finding myself just being, this whole idea of busyness relates a lot to how Martha was when Jesus came. So instead of being Mary and just kind of sitting at Jesus' feet and just taking the moment in, I am having to say, okay, Martha, Isabella, stop the busyness and just take it in, sit down, and maybe hear from God. Maybe God is trying to teach you something in this moment. And I know that God is trying to teach all of us something. So I am really using this time and this season to be still and to embrace, even though it's a struggle, the Mary in me, and not so much be the busy Martha who's in control of everything. Just letting God be in control.
What's interesting about that story is that Jesus says that Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her. And he never really says what it is, and I always relate that to sort of pointing to the fact that there's always there's always that thing that is most important in that moment or in that season of life. and I may have said this in a sermon before, I don't remember, but I talk about never being irresponsible with things that are irreplaceable.
Right.
And I think, in this season, we're all learning that there are things that are absolutely irreplaceable. So if Jesus say, whatever that it is for Mary, that's not going to be taken away, what maybe is one thing that you would say that you're finding that this is really something that is really valuable, and I'm learning the real value of it as a result of having to be still?
I think other than just the quality time that I'm getting to spend with the family, it's probably just even spending time with God, but I think spending time with family that we usually don't get to do. A lot, like I said before, a lot of us have these schedules that consume us, and we find ourselves just going, but now you're kind of forced to really hone in and really get to know your family members. And not to say that people don't know their family members, but you really get to know them, like even across the country. As most of you know, I'm from Malawi, so I'm really spending time, with even my family in Malawi, just talking, because they're even, as you know, COVID is a pandemic, so we're spending a lot of time together. So even though we are not physically together because they're far away, we're able to spend time. Even my family that's here, we have Zoom calls, we have things that we're doing to try to stay connected, but in all of it, getting to just peep in and know people a little bit more, know things about them that you would have never known other than being in this circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's good about that in relating that, finding that thing, that's
Mm-hmm.
good. Jesus never says that what Martha's doing is bad.
Right.
Somebody had to cook and clean and entertain, but it was almost like he was saying, in this moment and in this season, there's something that is a little bit more important than just being busy. Mm-hmm. And I know I've talked to several of you, and I sort of feel it too, that, this whole quarantine has us actually working harder
right.
than a lot of us worked before, because we're trying to prove that we're working. I had a mentor, maybe you can give me your thought on this, an educational mentor who said recently that his concern, he was talking primarily to clergy and church staff, mm-hmm. but he said that his concern is that during this time, a lot of us are working too hard because we're trying to prove that we're working, and it's this idea of being drugged unwittingly into works-based righteousness, which simply just means, that we think that the more that we do, that makes us a better person, or it makes us more right with God, the more that we can produce.
Right.
And one of the things that he just cautioned us as pastors and leaders was to not get drugged into that. And what struck me is he said that a lot of us are doing it because of the guilt of what we can't do. Mm-hmm. So, and this is probably like a really open question, like, are there things as a mom or woman that you have found in this quarantine of can'ts that you have felt guilty about not being able to do during this time? Not because you don't have the capacity, it's just that we're all in a position where there's things that we just can't do. And I think sometimes, if we're going to be honest, we feel bad that we can't do those things.
Right. So like even with work, because I'm fortunate enough to still be able to work and have great flexibility with my job to be able to telework. And so maintaining your schedule, making sure that you're getting, on conference calls when you have to, but it seems like there's more of that because that's the only way that you can interact with your colleagues, even though we had telework before, but this is different. This is like permanent telework. You're totally not seeing anybody, so you're constantly teleworking. So in the midst of that, it's the guilt of, oh my gosh, I still have to do school with the kids. The kids still need to learn. I still need to print all their stuff. I still need to check all their homework. I still need to answer questions from Miles. So the guilt is finding that balance, I guess. I think to make sure, like you're saying, to be present in the workplace and make sure that you're meeting all those needs, and then also be present for your children. So it's a really hard balancing act that I'm having to juggle sometimes. But again, that whole calling myself to be still and saying, you know what, be still. This can still happen. So there are days that I tell Miles, this is all your work. Let's figure out a plan of how we're going to get this accomplished. And bless his little heart, there are days that Miles will wake up and be like, okay, I just did all the work today. So those things can be very helpful.
So talk about the scripture, and we'll put that on the screen for you guys to read. The scripture about be still. I think the other part of that too is super important, where God says to Israel in the midst of this turmoil, and he's talking about things are going to come back to normal eventually.
Right.
He says to be still and know that I am God. And there's almost this idea that sometimes our certainty about God's presence and our certainty about God's ability to take care of us is felt more when we slow down and we're still.
Right.
Which goes back to what my mentor said, that when we do and work, we tend to think that it's us.
Right.
And not being able to do as much, it almost gives us a sense of a better sense of certainty that, you know what, God's got this. I'm more sure about that. So what would be one area that you would say that you have seen or experienced God as a result of having to slow down, to be still, in a way that it has revealed to you that, okay, God really does have this?
Wow. I think for me, that has been, sometimes I've struggled with just trying to say, okay, why is this really happening? What's going on here? When are things going to get back to normal? Which I know is one of the question that everybody else has, but I think the area that I've seen the most that has caused me to say, okay, yes, be still, is again in just grounding my faith, like really saying, okay, Isabella, you have the other excuses existed before, now you have no excuse. Let's get grounded. You and me, let's have one-on-one time to spend together and do this faith walk thing. So I think that has absolutely been an area for me where I've seen God just say, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to walk this walk because I've got you now. You got nothing to do. You got nothing but time.
So sort of maybe the last thing, and just shifting gears, what are some words of encouragement, anything that you want to share with moms, grandmas, spiritual mothers? A lot of great women have stepped in as foster mothers and adopted, and just across the board, a mother not just meaning biological, but those who take special pride in caring for the next generation. What would be, especially in this season, what would be some words of encouragement that you would give them, especially on this Mother's Day that probably is just not a whole lot going on. There's no going out to eat. There's no, so it's going to be different. Maybe the celebration is not there that should be there because of what's going on. But what would you say to encourage them?
Well, first I would like to say that I know that Mother's Day means a lot for many people. Like Lamar already mentioned that they're moms, they're spiritual moms, And also want to acknowledge, moms some of you who have lost a mom, or those who have had kids that they've lost, because Mother's Day can be a very difficult day. So words of encouragement that I would share with others is that on today, if you know of people who Mother's Day is a little bit difficult for them, give them a call, send them a message or something, just to let them know that you're thinking about them. And while some of us are, celebrating Mother's Day in this way, they may not be. It may be very difficult for them. So I want to encourage you all to do that. Reach out to that mom that you may know, or that friend who may have lost a mom, and today's a very difficult day. For others, the word of encouragement that I would share is that I think it's very important to take this moment and cherish it and hold on to it, because as you all know, kids grow very fast. I remember listening to a message of I can't remember if it was a podcast, but it was a pastor of a church who, at every baptism, whenever a child is born, when they dedicate the child, or like when we do the baby blessing, the pastor gives the family a jar with marbles in it. And the jar has I can't remember the specific number, but it's the number of weeks that child will be with you before they leave your home. In other words, when they turn 18, go to college, or they're officially an adult. So he talks to the parents about that on that day, and he tells them that every day I want you to take a marble out of that jar. And it is incredible how quickly that jar dwindles and you have one marble left. And he was talking to somebody who actually was giving a testimony about when they got the jar, and now their child is old. So my message to mothers is just happy Mother's Day. Embrace this moment. I know that you've been in the house with the kids. They've probably been driving you crazy, like ours have been driving us crazy and driving me crazy. But know that however many weeks you have with them, one day you're going to look up and you'll be helping them pack to move on to start a life of their own. So take this time. Yes, we're in quarantine. There may be a whole lot of things that you don't like about it, but take this opportunity to seize the moment, to be still in the moment, and really enjoy the moment of this awesome blessing that God gifted you with, called motherhood.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. Happy Mother's Day again. We are going to transition now, so if you're watching us for the first time, make sure that you let us know in the comments that this is your first time, and we'll send you a link to our digital connection card. There's also a time in our service when we're together where we normally will do two things that are important to us as a church, and that is to give. And so we want to continue to encourage you to give. You can do that safely and securely online, and also through our mobile app. It's a great way to be able to continue to support the work of your church. And then we also, every week we take communion to remind ourselves of what God has done for us. There's an awesome scripture in Isaiah where it says that God will love you with the type of love that can only come from a mother. And so God is dedicated to loving you in a way that is specific to a love that can only come from a mom, or can only come from a woman. And God says that I'm going to do that for you myself, so that no one ever has to go without that kind of love. And that's the type of love that he gave us when he gave us Jesus. So I want you to gather your family around, prepare to take communion. We're going to show a short video while you take communion. And then right after that, there are going to be a couple of announcements. So don't click us off just yet. Make sure that you stick around to the very end, because there are going to be some important announcements for you to know what's going on in the next couple of weeks. Again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, spiritual
happy
moms,
Mother's Day.
Grandmothers, all of our women. Thank God for you. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Today is Mother's Day, and we want to acknowledge all the women we're blessed to know. We rejoice over you, for your strength, your wisdom, your strong love, and your beautiful faith. Whether today is a celebration for you or a day of quiet reflection and healing, we're thinking of all of you. If you gave birth this year to your first child, Our joy overflows, and we celebrate with you. If you adopted a child this year or became a foster parent, we rejoice with you, and we want to honor you in your commitment to changing the lives of children. If you continue to struggle with infertility, we are hoping with you and holding your hand in prayer. If you are exhausted and feeling underappreciated for all you do for a house full of kids, we applaud you. We love you, and we appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. And if you lost a child this year to death or miscarriage, we weep and mourn with you. And if your child is lost to addiction or to the world, we hurt with you. And we join you in putting our hope in the one who brings prodigals home. If you live with painful memories of your mom, we pray that you will find in a spiritual mother all that you never had from a birth mom. And if you're one of those amazing spiritual moms, we thank you for stepping up and being there when others couldn't. If you're experiencing an empty nest for the first time this year, we walk with you in this new season and are excited about the next chapter God has planned for you. If you're single, we celebrate your strength, beauty, and individuality, and join with you in praying for the desires of your heart. If you're a single mom and wonder if you have the physical energy and financial resources to raise and provide for your child or children, we want to help you, and we will. And if you're pregnant for the first time, we prayerfully anticipate with you the joyful birth of a healthy child. And to all the special women on this Mother's Day, rest and delight in knowing that we are thankful for you, and we celebrate each and every one of you.
Tri-Cities family, thank you for joining us once again, huddled around your laptops, around your TV, around your smartphone, wherever you might be joining us. Wanted to start by saying Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We're so appreciative every single year, but especially this year. You're doing so much just to carry us through this time. You're wearing a lot of different hats. You're keeping our households going. You're keeping our families going. You're keeping us going. We're so thankful. So happy Mother's Day to all you moms. I want to just go through a few announcements as we wrap up our time together today. So starting with our food program that's been going strong now for a few weeks. If you are in need in this community, please reach out. We have a hotline open Monday to Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's some information right here on the screen for you. And we just want to serve you. So we served 43 families last week with all sorts of different food. We really want to continue that. So please reach out if you are in need. Next, I want to talk about Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. Me and Virginia joined this first one, and it was such a rich time with our community just to come together on a Zoom call, share a little bit about what's really going on, how it's impacting us, get some personal time with Lamar, get some personal time with each other, a time of prayer, a time of encouragement. So join us on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. There's some information here on the screen as well for that Zoom. So hope to see you there. Next, want to talk about Jerusalem Marketplace. So Jerusalem Marketplace, again, is still going strong in the middle of this pandemic. So please stay tuned for some more information. If you're a parent, there's going to be either an email coming to you or check out the Facebook page for Jerusalem Marketplace, the private page. We need to get your lessons so we can have this all ready to go. So just stay tuned and look out for that information. Last but not least, this next series, again, I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be some really pertinent information for what we're experiencing right now. So it's called Elevators, What to Do When Life Pushes Your Buttons. That starts next week. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Lift up our hands, Lord. Lift up our voices to testify, oh God. You are good. You are better than life. Life is so uncertain at times. Your love, it never fails. That's why we say Jesus, Jesus.